morning and welcome to 2019 Election Countdown Studio on Clearview Television. We are reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. It's a bright Monday morning here in the nation's capital. And on 2019 Election Countdown, we try to bring you updates on issues relating to the conduct of the 2019 general elections that have been scheduled for February 16 and March 2nd, 2019. Today we will be taking a look at some of the issues in the polity relating to the elections. My name is Sultan Okaba, and my co-host in the studio here is Doris Samuel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today, we will be taking a look at issues in the politics relating to the elections as it concerns Niger State. We will be talking with one of the governorship candidates in Niger State. Particularly, we will be discussing with the candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC, who will be joining us in a few minutes from now. We'll talk more about him when he arrives. But looking at the issues in the polity, it's been the issue of the presidential debate, the absence of the two major gladiators, that is President Muhammadu Buhari, who is of the ruling All Progressive Congress APC, and his main challenger, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who both of them were absent from the debate, and that issue has generated a lot of reactions from Nigerians. Today, we will take a look at some of these issues on the program 2019 Election Countdown. Let me go to you, Doris, before our guest comes in. There's been these reactions from Nigerians. What is exactly the reason why the two major contestants for this political office, the office of president, found it difficult to attend the presidential debate organized by the National Nigerian Election Debate Group in conjunction with the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON?
What I feel is maybe because of his age also, because I can't imagine as a president, Buhari not going there to talk to Nigerians, to woo them, to tell them what he has for them and not. Excuse me, please, let's take a break. Yeah, let's quickly take a break. When we come back, we'll continue.
Yeah. Okay. You're still with us on 2019 Election Countdown Studio, coming live to you from Clearview Television. As we told you earlier, that we have a guest in the house. Our guest for this morning is the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC in Niger State. He is Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad. Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad was until recently the Director of Academic Planning and later Deputy Registrar at Base University, Abuja. He was endorsed by members of the ADC in Niger State to run for the election holding on March 2nd, 2019. Before now, Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad was the 2019 presidential candidate of the party. Of the 2015 elections. He was a presidential candidate in that election. We want to most humbly welcome you to Clearview Television Studio.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, shortly before you came into the studio, we want to take a look at the issues in the polity, particularly as it relates to what happened last Saturday, where the two presidential candidates, the two major presidential candidates, that is President Muhammadu Buhari and the candidate for the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, were absent at the presidential election debate. It has generated a lot of issues. What is your immediate reaction to this?
Yeah, I think what we're doing in Nigeria is part of the process of institutionalizing democratic practice as we move into these years from 1999 till date. One of the things that is done in civilized democracies, the ones that we're trying to copy from, particularly during elections, is the debate. It's usually a very important platform that gives a lot of the voters out there an opportunity to really listen to the candidates talk on how they want to do specific things in terms of what they intend to do when elected. It's a very important ingredient of the electoral process. For anybody not to go for a debate, it raises serious questions about whether they take the whole process seriously at all, or whether they think, irrespective of whatsoever, they don't deserve to tell the people of this country what they have for them. I think we must desist from such, behaviors in future elections. I went into the debates in Niger State about 6-7 days ago, and the same scenario played out. The candidate of both the APC, that's the incumbent governor in the state, and that of the PDP were absent clearly in the debate. And for me, I see it as a trend that we must not encourage, a trend that must stop, because people really want to listen to candidates. They really want to understand what direction they want to take the country if they're given the opportunity. And maybe we should make this debate to be more legalized or more formal in our electoral process, so that there will be sanctions for one not attending the debates. As a matter of fact, we can make it as a mandatory activity during the electoral period in our country. In that way, we can deepen the practice.
Yeah, beyond this, when you look at the reasons that came from the presidency, and of course from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar himself before comments from members of his presidential campaign organization. The presidency had claimed that before now that the president had a town hall meeting program, and on that program the president was able to tell Nigerians his plans about what he intends to do and what he has already achieved. So they felt that there was no need for the president to attend the debate. On the other hand, the former vice president, who is the candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, got to the debate ground, and when he was told that the president was not there, he said there was no need for him to take part in the debate because he wanted to debate the president. With all of this, all the reasons that have been adduced, you find them cogent enough?
No, none of it is reasonable. I don't see any of the excuses that are being forwarded now strong and cogent enough for them not to attend the debate. I think ab initio there are doubts as to whether the president will attend or not. If the president has attended, it will have come as a surprise to many, because right from the beginning, the party and the people in the presidency have started speculating whether the vice president will represent him and things, whether it's Asuaju, Tinubu that will represent him and things like that. Now, for the former vice president to be at the venue and not to participate, I think that is even a bigger slap on the people of this country.
Okay, that brings us to, you were talking sometime and you mentioned the accidental leadership. What do you mean by that?
Okay, fine. I once talked during the inauguration of our campaign team that the era of accidental leadership in United States should be over. We have people who are not prepared for leadership, who have no pedigree, who have no credibility, who have no competence, and they come forward and they are foisted on the masses to be their leaders. And at the end of the day, the people don't get what they deserve. And you have leaders who are generally insensitive because they don't have leadership training. They were never mentored. Nobody has really groomed them to understand the responsibility of serving the people. And when you have such people in leadership because of certain connection or lineage or what have you, you don't expect them to perform. And I think in United States, the state has been a victim of such arrangement. And we're hoping that the people of the state will look at the candidates that are, going for elections now and vote people based on their credibility, their competence, and their character and the capacity to deliver.
Yeah, I still talking about the elections on the general note. Let's, as an accomplished university administrator, let me draw your attention to the issue between the academic staff union of universities, and then the participation of their members in the forthcoming election, which appears to be threatened with what we are hearing. As at the last count, ASU is demanding 70 billion naira from government at least before they can call up the strike, an opportunity which it will enable them to also mobilize their members to take part in the election, because INEC wants to draw some of its electoral officers, collation officers, returning officers from the university system. ASU had met previously and said no, members can go ahead and participate in the elections, that it has nothing to do with the strike. But a few days after, we are hearing all of this. What do you think can be done from somebody from an academic community? What do you think can be done to convince ASU members to take part in the forthcoming general elections?
I think we must look at the problem of the university system beyond what happens every 4 years, the way you have presented it now. as their participation in the elections to be more important than teaching young people, what they ought to know so that they obtain their degrees. For the universities to be closed for this long, I think is absolutely wrong. Um, I would have expected people to even make it a campaign issue in this country to continue to talk about um, this incessant strike, industrial action by the academic staff union and other trade unions within the educational sector as it is something that is affecting majorly the children of the downtrodden in this country, and it is the children of the masses, the children of those people who are generally depended upon to be the ones that will decide the fate of the candidates in 2019 that are staying at home. So it ought to be a very important election matter. And so I think it is in the best interest of everybody, it is in the best interest of our nation that both the academic staff union and other trade unions within the tertiary educational system and the federal government resolve these issues for the interest of the country, not necessarily because we want them to participate in elections. Because participating in elections is just one of those things. It's not really why they are there.
Okay. On PVC distribution, what is your view on the distribution? Is it effective? Are they doing enough? Or is there more they should do?
Yeah, I think they should be pragmatic about it, in the sense that they should look at how many people are able to collect, and if the numbers are that high, there should be a need for an extension of the collection period so that more people are given the opportunity to vote. As it is now with the new election guidelines, you cannot vote without the PVC. And more enlightenment through the media and other means, through our traditional institutions and town criers in our villages, people should be encouraged to go and pick these cards for them to be able to exercise their franchise.
Before now, the issue has been that INEC was not doing enough. But as of last week, INEC has already decentralized the collection of PVCs.
Yes.
And the latest report we are getting is that even with the decentralization of the collection of PVCs at the ward and registration level, the turnout of those who register to pick up their PVC is still not good enough in some states. What could be responsible for this kind of apathy?
We may not conclude there is an apathy until when the deadline has exceeded. Nigerians have a tendency to do things with a fire brigade approach. Most of them will wait until the last minute, and then the whole town will just troop to the center and make the whole process a little bit difficult to control. But like I've said earlier, let's wait till the date. If there are still a sizable number left, we can as well extend and see what will happen afterwards. But I'm hopeful that if someone will take the time to go and register, the people should also be able to take time to go and collect these cards to use for elections.
Okay, but as an aspirant, are you enlightening the people, your supporters, on the need to collect their PVCs?
Yes.
For those who have not collected.
Yes, we are, because we know very well that without the PVC, we're nowhere. Even if they support us from morning till night and they support us 100%. It's one of the functions of political parties as structured in Nigeria that they enlighten their members on the electoral process and the need for them to participate in elections. And as a party, the African Democratic Congress has been doing a lot of that. We've been encouraging our members and we're encouraging them to also encourage their family members and friends who are likely going to support us to collect these PVCs and use them on election day.
Okay, if you are just joining us, we are discussing with Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad, a former Director of Academic Planning and Deputy Registrar of Pace University. He was, in 2015, the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. Today, he is seeking to take charge of his state, Niger State, in central Nigeria. Let's come back to Niger State. Why do you want to be governor of Niger State? And at this very point in time?
The opportunity availed itself when I got, several people coming to ask me to run based on what they have seen, my experience both in private and public sector, my antecedents in politics, and my person, the highly principled human being who can be trusted with responsibilities as that of governing the state. And this is on the backdrop of the fact that things are not moving as they should in the state. Niger State, as we're talking today, even though we are the 18th in terms of population and number one in terms of land size and number one in terms of arable land in Nigeria, we're number 28 in the Human Development Index, which shows that life expectancy, the level of education, and the GDP is not growing. Now, this is a very serious disconnect, and most of it can be attributed to bad leadership, a leadership that is not focused. My intention is that if we're given the opportunity, we should be able to turn the state around, do the right things, to look at education, look at healthcare, look at infrastructure, look at agriculture, as well as social inclusiveness. We're hopeful that if we tackle these areas very well, with a body language that will not encourage corruption, a body language that will not encourage ineptitude, a body language that will not encourage nepotism, people should be able to fall in line and walk, in accordance to the dictates and what it takes, the best practices that are elsewhere for us to be able to move the state forward.
Okay, we are coming. Let's go on a short break. And to you, our viewers and the electorate, our numbers are on the screen. You can call Dr. Mani for your contribution and also to ask questions.
Is around the corner. Electioneering campaigns have reached a crescendo.
Join us on this journey to the next level of a prosperous, strong, and stable Nigeria.
Atiku Abubakar is 100% for 100% of Nigerians.
At this time every 4 years, the political class remembers the electorate and suddenly take to the streets. There is no scarcity of promises.
And we shall surprise the nation by producing the majority of governors in Nigeria.
And our campaign is anchored on lifting 80 million Nigerians out of poverty.
February 16, 2019 is the day of the election. Our swearing in is June 12, 2019.
This is a clarion call to all
If you just join us, our guest In the House is Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad, governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC in Niger State. Dr. Ahmad, let's talk about agriculture. You said Niger State is the first in terms of landmass, is the first in terms of arable land in Nigeria. If you win this coming election as governor of Niger State, beyond saying you will develop agriculture, can you tell us in clear terms what you intend to do, how to go about it? When you talk of agriculture, what is the level of agricultural development are we going to see under your administration?
Are there specific crop, cash crop, food crop you're going to concentrate on to ensure the state makes money?
Yes, as it is today, the total land area in Niger State is 76,636 square kilometers, of which 85% of it is arable, with a climate that is, the type that supports a wide range of both food and cash crop. And as it is today too, 21 of the 25 local governments in Niger State have either rivers Niger, rivers Kaduna, or river Gurara crisscrossing them to create basins that can be good for particularly rice and wheat production. Niger State produces a lot of yams, and in the northern part of the country there is a lot of competitiveness in beans and in maize and in guinea corn. So Niger State is well endowed, but very little is coming because of the issues that are surrounding agricultural practices in Nigeria. The first thing we intend to do is to do a soil map of the state. The soil map will tell us exactly what kind of soil we have, and it will tell us whether the type of fertilizer that the people are using is adequate and is needed at all for that particular area that they're using. So the soil map will tell us whether a place needs fertilizer, what type of fertilizer it needs, as to the common practice that we just put fertilizer anywhere. And the soil map we want to do will be done per hectare, so that every hectare of land will have its specific data. We want to bring in improved seeds, and we want to encourage people to use technology in agriculture. The little that they are producing, we want to encourage the farmers to form cooperatives and form cottage industries in the rural areas and add value so that they can make money, more money really, from what they are producing. For instance, Niger State produces more yam than any other state in Nigeria. This is something you can check and see. Now, there is no single factory that produces yam flour in Niger State. The yam flour that we see today in most of our supermarkets is becoming acceptable to most Nigerians as poundo. Now, it only takes the farmers to peel this yam, dry it in a hygienic way, sell it to the companies making poundo, and earn 3 or 4 times more money than they will earn if they have taken the yams directly to the market. As it is today, still talking about yam, the federal government Anchor program on Anchor Borrow program has no Anchor Borrow initiative for yam production. And this is what our people do a lot. So we want to look at those aspects. We want to set up farm settlements for particularly young people. To make it more encouraging, we want to bring in specialized type of agriculture. We want to bring in snail farming. We want to bring in mushroom farming. We want to encourage them to go into orchards. We want to see if we can make these farm settlements attractive enough to take some of these youths off the streets, because they will make a lot of money if they go into these specialized aspects of agriculture. It just needs them to be given a little training, and with that you support them with the incentive for them to do these things, and you encourage them to set up cooperatives where they can source funds that are available from either the federal government, as the case may be, through the Bank of Agriculture, and get them to do these things. But furthermore, we want to promote rice production. There is a research institute at Badegi, the National Cereal Research Institute. It was supposed to look at the potentials of rice farming in Niger State. When you go to the sites where they used to farm, if you're not strong-hearted, you will weep. You will see endless, stretch of land that God has just laid out there, flat, basin, well irrigated for rice production, and nothing is happening there. Now, this is a sorry state. With the potentials Niger State has, and you get the right investment atmosphere and bring in the right people in there, we can produce enough rice to feed the whole of Africa. That is something I want to look into.
Talking about agriculture, are you looking towards exportation of yam? Because right now, the only yam we have outside the country is a yam being moved from Nigeria to Ghana, and Ghanaians taking them out and calling them Ghana yam. So, would you, as a sitting governor, look towards the exportation of yam from your state?
People from Ghana, people from Benin Republic, people from Cotonou have always been coming to our villages to buy yams, even as they are in the heaps. They will buy the heaps, harvest, take them out, and take them out of the country. That has been happening for ages in Niger State. What we intend to do is value addition. What we intend to do is to encourage the farmers to set up small-scale industries where they will process this yam and sell it at a higher price. If we want to export yam, I think it is foolhardy to export raw yams out of Nigeria, since yam can be processed and we can sell yam flour to people from other parts of the world, and they will use it, and the farmers will make more money from doing that. So this is the kind of agro business we are looking at. This is what we think we will do that will actually increase the GDP of the state in a way that we can have more money to do other things that we want to do to improve the lives of our people.
One problem that has been confronting agricultural production in Nigeria has been the issue subsistence farming. We do not seem to see more of a situation where states, governments, even at the federal level, try to encourage mechanized farming. You talked of a huge quantity of arable land available in Niger State. Nigeria today, we still have a problem of food, getting enough food on our table. They tell you that, we produce this, we produce that, but the average Nigerian finds it difficult to have 3 square meals a day. What is really wrong with the agricultural production system?
Yeah, but one of the biggest problems of agriculture in Nigeria is the quality of the inputs we put in our farms. Elsewhere, you have varieties of rice that can give maybe 10 tons per hectare. And here in Nigeria, we're making 1 or 2 tons per hectare. And that is the biggest problem. So we need to apply the right technologies. That's why I talked about bringing in the right technologies in terms of, giving them the good quality seeds and then the proper agricultural practice. Mechanization doesn't mean that everybody has to own a combined harvester and so on. There are simple technologies that can be used to improve on agricultural production. I've seen a technology that somebody used a motorcycle in India, removed the tires and use the spokes and create a small machine that trashes granules, and it's doing it very fast and very efficiently. Now, those are the kind of practices we want to encourage our people, because of the level of empowerment of our people and the fact that government doesn't have enough money, it's not possible to get everything mechanized at the same time. But the application of proper technologies and the right agricultural practices will improve things before people will now gradually understand the need for them to form cooperative and access, more loans for them to go more mechanized. It will take time. But rudimentarily, let's get the right information, the right data, and encourage the farmers to apply that. One of the things that have always existed that doesn't exist now is the agri-extension services that have always been there. You have agric officers visiting these farmers in their various farms in their communities and giving them advice, checking on what they're doing. We're not doing much in that area. We want to promote extension services. We want to continue to engage the farmers so that they enjoy what they're doing and they make good money. Because 80% of the GDP of Niger State comes from agriculture. So if we're able to promote agriculture truly, we'll have done a lot within a very short time.
Okay, talking about educating the people, let's go to the education sector now. But before I ask you the question, I'll still like to remind the viewers to call. The lines are open. You can call to talk to Dr. Mani. As you can see, he's very knowledgeable on a lot of issues and will value contributions from you. Dr. Mani, if elected, are you going to structure the education sector in Niger State, since you are very vast? A PhD is not a small thing.
Yes.
So what are you going to do in the education sector in the state?
Okay, I think I can say I know the problems of education in Niger State. I started my career as a classroom teacher in Niger State. I worked for 10 years and I retired. I draw pensions today from Niger State government for the service I have rendered as a classroom teacher for those 10 years in about 4 communities. The last place I taught is a town called Nasco, the headquarters of Magama local government. I was transferred there at the beginning of a session. But, generally JS1 students don't come in until around January. So after the first term, they came in January, and to God who made me, I was shocked to discover that these students that have just finished primary school and have come into JS1 in the school where I work don't know the alphabets. And we have to start teaching them A, B, C to Z. And I took my time to come back in the evening to teach them. And I asked this question: how did we get to this level? And I was made to understand that they can only source students into the local secondary school from the primary schools within the community. And because these primary school teachers are not paid, so they don't teach, they wait at the beginning of the rainy season, they invite the students to school, they go and do their plots for them, and then later on they do the planting, later on they will come and do the weeding, and later on they harvest. And after that cycle,
so the primary school children became a source of labor.
Yeah, they
for
promote them
teachers
to the next class
who
because the teachers,
in farming.
the teachers have to survive. So that's the schooling they got. Now that is a problem that is rampant. It's not only in that particular school or in that particular local government. It's not even a Niger State problem. There is rot and decay in our educational system. We want to approach it. One, we want to improve on infrastructure and the teaching facilities. There are 1,650 primary schools in Niger State. Is grossly inadequate for a state that has 40% illiteracy rate. So what we want to do is to build more schools and increase access and make it a criminal offense for anybody not to send their children to school. And we will insist that people, if you don't send your children to school, we'll jail you, because the schools are now available. So we'll build more schools, we'll put more facilities in the school, but we want to improve on the remuneration of the teachers. We want to pay them better. We want to encourage them to be trained. Those of them that cannot teach, I think what happened in Kaduna State is a very classical example of what can happen in Niger State as well. We'll do away with them, we'll get them to do other things, and encourage people who have the knowledge to come in. Even if they are not trained in the university to be teachers, we'll give them the trainings, a refresher course for like 3 months or so, train them to become teachers. Most of our local governments have more local government staff than teachers in the schools. Those local government staff that have diplomas, that have degrees, we will withdraw them from the offices and send them to the classrooms to teach. They continue drawing from the same salaries. But most importantly, we want to improve on supervision. The inspectorate division that has gone comatose in Niger State will be revitalized, because quality assurance is very important. It is important that we get the right feedback from the kind of investment we want to put in education. The investment is definitely going to be budgetary. There is today about 8% budgetary allocation to education in Niger State. This is grossly inadequate. We want to take it in the first instance to about 16 to 22 and try to maintain it at 26 for about 4 to 8 years if we have the opportunity. In that way, we'll turn around the fortune of education in the state. As it is now, it is terrible.
But are you looking at looking in the area of free education for the people? If there is going to be a law defining a criminal law on parents who
Of course, that is why it's going to be compulsory. If it's compulsory, it has to be free.
Hold on, let's take a call. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
You're into 2019 election countdown studio from Clearview Television. Can you hear us?
It's like we lost the call.
Okay.
So you can go.
Okay, so education will be free and compulsory. It is because it's free, that's why we'll jail you for not sending your children to school.
All right, apart from education, Niger State is one of those states said to be rich in mineral resources.
Sure.
They appear not to have been much effort in tapping the potentials in the mineral subsector in that state.
Nothing is heard.
That's true. What? Some of these minerals, can we know them, and what will you do differently to ensure that these resources are tapped?
There are lots of mineral resources there in the United States, solid minerals per se, and even the hydrocarbons. It is speculated that there's a huge petroleum reserve in the Bidda Basin. Exploration has started, but I think maybe the right amount of money is not put there, and the kind of political will that is required hasn't been put there. So there is potential for oil and gas in the Bidda Basin. But most importantly, there are available deposits of precious metals, particularly gold, in areas around Paikoro local government, in specific terms, Adunu and Kafinkoro, as well as areas around Nasco and Libele in Magama local governments. Now, what we want to do is to encourage investors to come in and do it large scale with the collaboration of the Federal Ministry of Mines here in Abuja. The federal government give the licenses and the cadastral, but we'll insist that those people coming up to set up the mines, some of them are our own local people, and that they employ our own people. And instead of mining and taking them out as it is, we'll insist that they do a little value addition. And by that way, they will employ more people, and the state can get some additional revenues from such things. The state government will consider the possibility of setting up its own mining company and going into some of these areas. But the lack of exploration of these minerals, I think, will be addressed, and we'll want to go into it hand in hand with tourism, and through that we think we'll raise the kind of money that we'll need to finance our projects, particularly in education. The money we need to turn around the education is huge. One of my ideas for making money through tourism is to utilize the potentials of the tourist sites that we have in Nigeria, and there are quite many. I have never traveled abroad for tourism. If I go abroad, it's certainly for maybe official assignments. I've done all my tourism here in Nigeria, and I know that the potentials for tourism in Nigeria are enormous. And because we are not doing anything about it, that is why we don't have as many, UNESCO heritage centers here in Nigeria. The Zuma Rock, for instance, if you have a lift that carries people to the top of Zuma Rock, and they go there to eat in a very exclusive restaurant with a view of the whole of Abuja, you make money from there. And if you have a cable car running from the top of Zuma Rock to Gurara Falls, and you create a holiday resort there, put an 18-hole golf course there, and charge people money for coming there, you make huge monies. The potentials are enormous. There is the brass work in Bida, there's the Ladi Kwali Poultry Center that has turned into, hiding place for rodents and rats in Suleja. And everybody hears about Ladi Kwali. But go to the place where Ladi Kwali made her name, you'll cry for the kind of sorry state in which we treat things in this part of the world. So I think there is a huge potential in tourism. Some of my ideas can be crazy, but I know that there are a lot of crazy people out there that will understand that it will make money in the future, and they can invest and will make huge amount of money through tourism and through the development of solid minerals in Niger State.
You recently visited the Abdul Qadir Kure market in company of your deputy after the fire disaster. What are you going to do different to forestall a recurrence of it when elected?
Yeah, the first thing we did, like I'm sure you're aware, was to donate firefighting equipment, and 2 days later we sent leaflets on the steps for people to take to prevent fires in the first place. We will restructure the market. We'll demolish attachment shops. We'll make sure that there is free access in case if there is fire and there's freedom. If there is a need, we'll create additional shops because there is a lot of land attached to the market, and get some of these people that have congested the market and have made it impossible for movement, free movement of people, free movement of fire service or other emergency services. If there is a need, we will build additional shops and move them there. I think in that way and manner we'll create some sanity in that market.
I know the traders will be very happy hearing about these plans to improve on and carry out expansion at the Abdul Qadir market. But as we go into the elections, the final one, what are your chances in this election?
My chances are bright. We have, in clear terms, reached out to the people and make them understand why we are different from what they have been used to. And make them understand that it takes, their collective will for them to make the change they deserve possible. It is not good enough to go around lamenting that the government is not doing this, but what are you doing as a citizen in your own capacity with the opportunities given to you to bring about the desired change? And I think our message has been resonating very well with the people, and we are hopeful that when election comes, people will see us as those that are capable of addressing particularly the issues of underdevelopment in our state, based on what we have been able to do with our lives all this while, and based on the fact that we have had a very good track record with everything that we have put our hands into. So we are hopeful that enough of the people that will come out and vote for us will be that number that can bring about the change in the state.
Thank you very much. We have been discussing with the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC in Niger State, Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad. He has been discussing with us, telling us his clear agenda for developing Niger State, from agriculture to education to healthcare, and particularly how to tap the resources, the solid mineral resources in Niger State. We had problems with our lines for today, but we hope that because of time, we may have to bring Dr. Ahmad again back to our studio to look at the issues, the development prospects for Niger State in the next coming 4 years. We want to thank you sincerely for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
My co-host has been Doris Samuel, and my name is Utang Okaba. Happy viewing. Thanks for joining us.